She's a wonderful woman. I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But she ain't no Elon.
But she also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What, you don't believe?
You don't believe?
Oh,
Believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I take off.
If the name Oprah makes you think of inspirational wisdom, heartfelt advice, and surprise car giveaways, think again. Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly are tearing through that polished image with a no-holds-barred truth storm. Rogan's firing off unfiltered takes like a podcasting sniper, while Kelly cuts through media spin with razor-sharp precision. And Oprah? She's caught in the crossfire, looking like her entire empire just got a plot twist no audience saw coming. What explosive revelations flipped the script? This isn't just spicy, it's a full-blown media reckoning, raw and uncensored. No safe spaces, no carefully staged moments, just the kind of drama even Oprah's legendary couch couldn't contain.
I used to love Oprah, like most of us who grew up when we did. And only now did I realize I've been getting spoon-fed propaganda from this woman for years. I always took her little setup packages as gospel. You know, before I was a reporter, I never even thought to question whether Oprah might be intentionally misleading me. Then last night, the dawn came and I was like, oh my God, she is not a reporter, she's a propagandist.
The Oprah Empire. Exposed. A mountain of kale smoothies and spiritual nonsense. Picture this. You're standing atop a towering peak of organic kale smoothies, jade eggs, and 27 different spiritual gurus. Yet somehow, basic common sense is still MIA. Welcome to the dizzying heights of Oprah Winfrey's empire, where trust your intuition replaces facts, and every life crisis gets solved with a Pinterest-worthy vision board, quote. But now, Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly just dropped a truth bomb. And that carefully curated mountain of self-help fluff? Reduced to a smoldering crater. No more vague platitudes, no more overpriced enlightenment, just the raw, unfiltered takedown of an empire built on good vibes and questionable advice.
Joe Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as like, how is that equal? And also, when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, I think she was saying her mother or grandmother was always suspicious of people who took more than they needed.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
you are worth so much money.
Take more than they need. The Obamas have 4 mansions.
I mean, it's a bunch of rich people talking about rich people.
Joe Rogan didn't bother with punches. He came armed with a steel chair emblazoned with logic in blood-red letters. Megyn Kelly marched right behind him, napalm in hand, her flamethrower stenciled with the word accountability in unmissable bold font. Together, they didn't just enter the conversation. They turned Oprah's carefully constructed universe inside out, like a TED Talk fed through an industrial wood chipper. Let's pull back the curtain on Oprah's empire, shall we? For decades, she served as America's premium emotional navigation system. Except her version came with faulty wiring. That soothing voice would coo, "Believe in yourself," right as the whole apparatus veered into oncoming traffic. And we were perfect marks. We gave standing ovations. We shelled out for hardcover wisdom. We gulped down 39 smoothies laced with lunar energy and repackaged nonsense, smiling through the psychic heartburn. Now the bills come due. The self-help industrial complex is getting its reckoning. And suddenly, all those feel-good mantras can't paper over the simple question hanging in the air. What happens when the guru gets called out? The answer's unfolding in real time, and it's messier than a jade egg rolling down a spiral staircase.
It was one of the more I want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. When I had friends that were telling me that the secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. But there's a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that the secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs. They put pictures up of the things that they wanted, like them in front of large crowds and shit. And I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not how it works.
Joe Rogan, America's tattooed, cage-fighting Socrates, took one look at Oprah's glittering empire and dropped the mic. Wait, are we really pretending this isn't just a high-end grift with better lighting? Meanwhile, Megyn Kelly came in like a woman possessed, shedding earrings and kicking off heels like she'd been sharpening her knives for this exact moment. This wasn't just criticism. It was the pent-up takedown of an entire generation's unquestioned self-help messiah. Rogan, ever the blunt instrument of reason, saw past the angel-numbered affirmations to the cold, hard truth. Oprah's empire runs on the same old snake oil, just repackaged in cashmere wraps and spiritual bypassing. And Kelly? She attacked with the precision of a prosecutor, finally getting her shot at the biggest fraud case of the century. Together, they're exposing what we all secretly knew, but were too busy buying $200 meditation cushions to admit: that the queen of daytime enlightenment might have been peddling spiritual MLM this whole time. The jig is up, the curtains pulled back, and suddenly, all those aha moments look suspiciously like well-produced manipulation set to inspirational piano music. The question isn't whether Oprah's empire will survive this reckoning. It's why we ever believed in the first place.
Did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
It's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
I did not know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
When was the last time Oprah actually spent time hanging out with a working class person in America? She's on her Montecito estate with one of the most beautiful mansions known to man. And that is why she did not follow up with Kamala Harris in response to that stupid gun question with, well, you're on camera saying that you favor mandatory gun buybacks. So how would that work? The Oprah enthusiasm worked when it was genuine.
Let's talk about the circus of nonsense Oprah unleashed on America. First up, Dr. Oz, her very own lab-grown Franken-scientist, hand-picked, polished, and paraded as a medical oracle until he slithered out of the operating room and tried to become a senator, like a sentient Whole Foods aisle come to life. Rogan's eyebrow shot so high it practically escaped Earth's gravity. This is your guy? The same clown peddling raspberry ketones like they're vibranium from Wakanda? Then there's Dr. Phil, the drawling, self-help menace with a PhD in whatever Oprah says I am. Kelly didn't bother with kid gloves. She shoved a mirror in Oprah's face. You gave us a therapist whose entire career is bullying troubled teens on national TV. Oprah just nodded along, murmuring, yes, healing. Rogan and Kelly didn't need to scream. They just peeled back the layers of Oprah's empire, $1,000 affirmations, love your truth mantras, to reveal the grift underneath. Because somehow, every spiritual journey she champions ends with you buying a $39 vial of healing lavender oil. And let's not forget her book club, a literary kingdom where The Secret, a book that claims the universe is your personal Amazon Prime if you just wish hard enough, was gospel. Rogan nearly short-circuited. Wait, you platformed a con artist who told cancer patients to vibe higher, and America thanked you for it?
Yeah, so let's think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006.
Nice.
Okay. So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the fuck do you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. And that's a book that sold, I think I was reading, it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million copies.
Wow.
Is that what it says? Yeah.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Megyn Kelly didn't just raise an eyebrow. she eviscerated the bar for journalistic integrity. This is the woman who sold "Think Your Way Out of Poverty" to people who needed policy change, not Pinterest affirmations. And the audacity of Oprah's rebrand? From daytime drama queen to America's moral compass? Please. The same woman who built an empire on "I married my horse" level content now poses as the Dalai Lama of brunch circles. Rogan, eyes bulging, practically screamed, "Did we all get amnesia?" This woman aired literal freak show TV in the 90s. But the pièce de résistance? Oprah's sudden reinvention as political oracle. Nothing screams relatable like a billionaire sipping Pinot in her Napa vineyard, murmuring which candidate aligns with her spirit. Rogan lost it. Oh, feels right? You pick presidents like you shop for couch cushions? Meanwhile, Kelly, voice like a hydraulic press, went straight for the kill. Oprah's net worth could bail out Detroit, but she's still cosplaying economic empathy. The only inflation she understands is the markup on her $85 soul-nourishing chai candles. Yes, those exist. Just when you think they're done, Rogan leans in, final boss energy, and drops the truth nuke. Oprah acts above media bias, but her whole career is emotional engineering. She doesn't report news, she curates vibes. The only difference? Her propaganda comes gift-wrapped in cashmere and smells like prosperity lavender.
She's trying to shove messaging down my throat of whatever she believes, not what's real. So, you remember she did that, kind of factual interview after the, quote, documentary of Michael Jackson?
Yes.
That was so dishonest.
Yes.
She did not raise any of those accusers' serious compromising facts when she had them right there. Maybe they're telling the truth, maybe they're not. But as a journalist, you have to at least ask. You know, you've got multiple lawsuits against his estate, sir. Might that be an incentive to lie?
Kelly was nodding so hard, it looked like her head might take off. She wasn't just biased. She was the bias. A soft-lit stage, audience clapping on cue, tear-soaked tales wrapped in moral theater, all carefully orchestrated by a woman who built a billion-dollar empire on command performance crying. And don't even get started on Oprah's spiritual all-stars. You've got Eckhart Tolle mumbling about presence, like he misplaced his own identity, and Deepak Chopra dishing out quotes so vague they might as well be repurposed horoscopes. Even Joe Rogan nearly fell out of his chair. This woman built a global franchise on vague enlightenment and managed to sell it as divine wisdom. Megyn basically ignited into spiritual flames. For decades, Oprah's been packaging inner peace like it's a bath bomb, while carefully sidestepping the real-world policies that cause actual suffering. And let's not pretend her influence stops at daytime TV. Oprah has colonized podcasts, documentaries, foundations. She's franchised her brand of mystic capitalism to the point where every time someone lights a scented candle and scribbles in a gratitude journal while ignoring rent, Oprah gets a new wing added to her mansion. Rogan just kept blinking, stunned. This woman made a fortune telling people to trust their gut, even when their gut was flat out wrong. At some point, it's not intuition anymore. It's just gas and denial.
You've got these accusations against him. You had a book that you were supposed to produce about Michael Jackson in the context of litigation where you were required to turn this stuff over, and you lied saying that you didn't have it. And you only got found out because Random House and these other publishers admitted you shopped it to them and turned over the metadata to Michael Jackson's estate. This guy, my point is simply, this one accuser was very compromised, and she had him right after the documentary. It aired on HBO right after. Didn't ask a question. Then she gets Meghan Markle. That was another propaganda fest.
And then came the weight loss saga. Oh boy, Kelly nearly shattered the sarcasm meter. Imagine this. A woman who spent decades championing body positivity is now casually pushing weight loss drugs like they're part of a morning skincare routine. Did she find self-love or just a better sponsor? Rogan burst out laughing, sounding like a motorcycle trying to start in winter. So let's get this straight. The message was, you're perfect just the way you are, until a pharma paycheck suggested otherwise. The audience? Losing it. Because here's the cold truth. for all the sacred, wisdom-drenched aura around Oprah. Her empire is stitched together with contradictions so big, they deserve their own zip code. She's the queen of authenticity, but has carefully curated every moment since 1986. She's the voice of truth, who once gave airtime to guests claiming they cured cancer with smoothies. She's America's moral compass, but somehow always lands on the profitable side of every social movement. And Rogan and Kelly? They didn't say anything revolutionary. They just said out loud what everyone else was thinking, minus the sugar and armed with a chainsaw. Honestly, it needed to happen. Oprah's been floating above criticism for years, like some sort of wisdom fairy with a private jet. Question her? You're a hater. Analyze her brand? You're not in alignment. But Rogan and Kelly weren't trying to align. They were out to expose. And when they were done, they left Oprah's motivational empire smoking in the rearview mirror of cold, hard truth.
My point is coming from the other way. She had the accusers there, and the accusers may or may not have had this experience with Michael Jackson.
Oh, you're talking about the HBO doc?
Yes.
Yes.
But she failed to bring up prior inconsistencies in their stories that really did compromise their stories. I don't know what happened.
I understand what you're saying.
So
Okay,
I'm just saying, as a journalist, which she purports to be,
right,
it was a complete fail.
Right.
And then she committed the same failure with Meghan Markle,
Yes.
where she didn't press any of her claims of racism in the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have the ultimate culmination of her journalistic fail.
Kelly dropped the mic with one savage line. At some point, you're not a media mogul. You're just a billionaire lifestyle blogger with cult status. And Rogan, he doubled down. She sold wellness the way McDonald's sells salads. It looks healthy until you read the ingredients. That's the roast. No gimmicks, no debate, just two people standing in the glitter-covered rubble of a billion-dollar empire asking the question everyone's been too polite to ask. How did we let this go on for so long? Because when you strip away the candles, the soft piano music, and the slow-motion tears, what you're left with isn't transcendence. It's just vibes. Vibes that built an empire. Vibes with real-world consequences. And now, thanks to Rogan and Kelly, the vibe is finally off. At some point, Oprah's empire stopped looking like media and started looking like a luxury hallucination. They weren't just pointing fingers. They were peeling back the layers of brand mythology like cheap wallpaper in a mansion of delusion. And underneath all that polished wood and vision board glitter, a full-blown self-help Ponzi scheme with candles. Oprah didn't just build a brand. She built a belief system, one where she's both the profit and the product line. And the hypocrisy? Absolutely gourmet. Here's a woman who urges you to be your authentic self, but won't be photographed under lighting that hasn't been softened into a spiritual mist. She sells vulnerability in bulk, while hiding behind PR armor so thick it makes the Pentagon look like a glass house. Even Rogan had to mutter, half impressed. She's got more security around her image than Fort Knox does for gold.
Oprah didn't help by sort of saying it's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? It's a drug that helps people control their appetite. How is that cheating? So she was probably on the wrong side of things when she was saying that. And now I think she was sort of forced to admit, because as you say, it's obvious. Somebody like Oprah, who's constantly up and down with the weight and hasn't been on the skinnier side for a long time. And then suddenly, after this miracle drug comes out, like, we know. But she's still a spokesperson for Weight Watchers. And I guess she's going to still tell us that the point system is really what's behind the weight loss.
Kelly didn't even blink. She knows spin when she sees it. And Oprah's spin game? Elite. 1 minute, she's barefoot in a meadow whispering about emotional healing. The next, she's charging 5 figures for a retreat that's essentially high-end group therapy with cucumber water. Spirituality, but make it sponsored. And then there's the performance, the well-timed tears, the soulful eye contact, the dramatic pauses that stretch longer than most people's attention spans. Rogan, ever the meat and potatoes truth seeker, couldn't help but ask, is this growth or just Oscar-worthy marketing? Because let's be real, every episode, every special, every teary confession has been one more brick in Oprah's cathedral of self-worship, all cleverly disguised as public service. Oprah doesn't just have fans, she has disciples. And the scariest part? They thank her for it. Every drop of manipulation is delivered in velvet and wrapped in gratitude. People cry just being near her, as if spiritual awakening comes with a welcome mat and a 15% off discount code. And Kelly? She went straight for the jugular. You know what's worse than fake humility? Fake activism. One moment, Oprah's weeping on air about injustice, and the next, she's gracing a magazine cover in a $12,000 designer coat, speaking about oppression, from the comfort of her vineyard. Not even a twitch on Kelly's face. Just pure, surgical takedown energy.
When she first hit the scene in like the 1980s and she was fresh out of Chicago, she was in Chicago for the launch of her national talk show. She was something electric and interesting and authentic, you know? I miss fat Oprah. She was just genuine. Now this thin Ozempic Oprah has lost, along with the pounds, her heart, her sense of authenticity. And what we're getting these days is this cleansed, elite, billionaire version who wants to scrub the record.
Then came the pivot. Less book club, more ballot box. Oprah's new era wasn't about healing anymore. It was about influence. Why stop at souls when you can shape elections? Rogan was floored. This is the same woman who gave us Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil, now suddenly moonlighting as a political kingmaker? That's like tossing a match into dry grass and blaming the fire for burning down your house. And let's talk about her favorite move, selective silence. When things go sideways, when her hand-picked experts become walking scandals, when the wellness advice sends people off a cliff, Oprah disappears. No apology, no statement. Just a quiet retreat to a luxury yurt for reflection. But Rogan and Kelly weren't fooled. They called it what it is, strategic vanishing, because Oprah doesn't get held to the same standard as anyone else in media. Why? Because she gift-wrapped her empire in soft-spoken affirmations, scented candles, and designer empathy. And for years, no one wanted to say the obvious. The Empress has no ethical wardrobe. Until Rogan and Kelly lit the incense of accountability and watched the illusion curl into smoke. And now, here we are. After peeling back layer after layer of Oprah's empire like an overpriced, overhyped onion sponsored by the universe itself, we're finally staring at the raw truth. It was never about awakening your soul. It was always about protecting hers.